Welcome to the first edition of Marketing News Now Interviews with your host, James Meeker, broadcasting near the Silicon Valley hills of Austin, Texas. Today is April the 20th, 2026, and today I've got Jason Eccles with us. He's known to be an AI expert. We're lucky to have him here today to explain the power of using MD or Markdown files to boost your AI game to the next level. You might have seen some of Jason's posts and thought leadership on LinkedIn regarding things like evolving governance landscapes for the AI systems and how agentic AI is reshaping cybersecurity marketing, and of course, structural risks of AI coding agents, and why continuous security review, not end of cycle scanning, is the only posture that works in an agentic development. Jason, tell us a little bit about your professional journey. What was that like, and how did you get to the now? What was the key building blocks for such a solid reputation in the IT industry as an AI security and networking expert?
First, thanks for having me on this inaugural edition, James. It's definitely an honor. And to be able to kick this off is going to be a lot of fun. So, the background here is that I'm in the Austin area and I've been able to grow with it in the technology scene here. I started out in startups and corporate life and have kind of gone between those two, being able to grow a little bit in each area as they have gone through different cycles. And that's been really, really enjoyable to work with the people in those spaces and see how technology changes, how process changes in those areas. But my focus has been in more technical side of marketing, which has really prepared me for the way as AI has started to change marketing, coding, other more technical conversations in this space. I've been able to really play with it and be in environments that are adopting it quickly, allowing us to move into agentic coding pretty quickly, and even moving this into other areas like workflows, transforming how we work day to day. So that's been a lot of fun and really is starting to impact traditional business beyond coding, like we saw much of last year. Now it's really beginning to move into marketing and technology and product workflows. It's a fun, fun time.
Very cool. I know you've been with some of the largest and leading tech companies in the Austin area, so very fortunate to have you here. Your firsthand experience in these organizations delivers quite a bit of value to our audience. I know a lot of us started prompting with AI when it first came out and kind of cut our teeth on this. Some of us have even kind of developed or matured to using projects within the AI toolboxes, and there's a few of us that have even started coding with AI or vibe coding. Markdown files kind of crosses all of these areas. Where do you think they fit in, and why are they important to everyone? And why will a Markdown file bring a marketeer to their next level?
So there's so many ways we're all learning about AI and where it fits, where it works. And to me, Markdown has been a bit of a magic shortcut for so many different ways that we use AI. And we'll even move into it in the coming years. It's really handy from starting out, even as simply as just prompting, like most of us start out with AI. And then as you start to move into further things like doing brand guidelines or automating workflows, giving AI the deeper context of what you're doing. Markdown provides that native language for you and it to speak together. And
Mhm.
the beauty of it is it's really, really simple to learn. You don't need a coding background. You don't need to understand how XML or anything else works in order to do it. It's really a couple of hours of reading a couple of things online, experimenting a bit with it, and then putting it into your favorite AI. And the beauty is it doesn't work in just one of these. As you mentioned, there's many different AIs out there. We all have our favorite. It works in pretty much all of them today.
Mhm.
And it's a native language spoken by these tools so that we can speak in a language that is interpreted at a high accuracy level and will just continue to get better over time. So it's a
So
really exciting topic.
to get this clear, Grok doesn't speak Spanish and Gemini doesn't speak French. They will talk to each other with Markdown, correct?
That's right. That's right. It's a really handy language to get to know, and even language is overselling it. It's really just a simple format that lets AI understand how you're structuring the data you're putting into it and takes a couple of hours to learn and a lifetime to benefit from.
All right. Now, Is this similar to prompting? Is there a method of organizing the thoughts in order to establish a best practice on how to create these files? And then these are files, correct?
Correct, correct. You can input it into a prompt in a markdown format, but I think as we can show on the graphic here, it's pretty simple to structure it easily, put it into a text structure, or there is a native markdown file that ends in .md, which we may have seen, especially if you're using Claude or some of the other more advanced tool sets too. And that just tells AI, your operating system, and anybody interacting with it that that's the structure it should be expecting when it opens that file.
Okay. So, what about the formatting? If I give it my text and you give it your text or prompts converted into this file, is there a certain way to organize the thoughts or best practices on dealing with this? How do you get started?
Yep, that's a great question. So there's several easy tutorials you can find. YouTube, you can see look on my page, and I give some examples of Markdown that are pretty simple,
Mhm.
especially for marketing audiences, because that's where I've been able to use it a lot in the last year or so. That is a great way to get started. If you even prompt your favorite agent, it will help you do this. There's several learning modes, especially Google's doing some really great things here with Gemini to help you learn and practice things. Markdown is one of those things that you can play with. I've been able to do that and even have some people I'm working with practice that in Gemini. So
Mhm.
there's several ways to approach it depending on what your preference is. But then go out there and start immediately trying to play with it in your favorite environment. OpenAI, when you're creating a custom GPT, the instructions can be put into Markdown. That's an easy way to start to do it. You can also add Markdown files as attachments in there. If you're more into Codex, or excuse me, if you're more into Claude and Cowork, it actually structures skills natively in Markdown and has you put markdown files in separate folders. So you can add a folder, for example, if you're in marketing that has your brand voice in it, and then another that has a markdown file that's referenced by your brand voice, maybe that says, hey, here's some claims that are approved by my legal department that you can use. And it's simple to maintain that. And you can even automate that maintenance. So using Markdown allows you to work with your agents and humans so that everybody can see it. It's very human readable. It's an easy way, as perhaps you've seen on the screen here, to read text data and get that to an agent so that it's got good info.
So it sounds like for a lot of marketing organizations, they're collaborating around a set of markdown files that allows the AI to remember things from session to session and from user to user so that you're not constantly having to reprogram your AI for your next project. Is that spot on, or is there more to
Exactly.
it than this?
Exactly. That's a great use case that is very friendly in a medium to large organization, even a small one. At my last startup I was at, we were able to use markdown files where we would standardize things like case study format. We all worked on it, decided on the case study format we wanted to use in the company, provided that to our agents in a markdown file. And then it very repeatedly was able to follow that format over and over again, no matter who was writing the case study. So
Mm.
that heavily automated our processes with a good degree of standardization that we were all knew what was going to come out of that agent. So that was really nice. Claude has also recently rolled out the capability in co-work to where a skill can now be shared across the enterprise. That's all in markdown files, and those files then can be used anywhere that people have access to those agents.
Yeah, I've actually done that, and it'll automatically pull the skills into your project when it realizes it needs it.
It's
So,
so amazing to watch it do that.
it is awesome. So, what interesting use cases have you seen with markdown files, or what utility does this offer beyond just kind of the marketing use cases that we've talked about today? Is there something else that would be interesting to this audience?
Most certainly. And I know you've played with this somewhat, doing some vibe coding, getting to a place where you're not really diving deep into code, but you have some standards that you want to follow. Maybe you want to give some context to your agent as you're starting to do that coding. Vibe coding is a great place. Perhaps you want to say, hey, here's who I am. Here's the language I prefer because it's more human readable, like Python, something like that. You want to also document decisions. I have a decisions.md that is shared across my agents where I say, oh, we've decided to use OneDrive for our shared environment. We've decided to use this graphics format. We've decided to use this text format. Here's my brand voice. These
Yes.
kinds of things can be easily shared. And if you move agents, if you move projects, you can just repoint everything to it. And in a minute or five, you're back up and running.
Yeah, you mentioned kind of a fun thing with vibe coding. I do something called leaving breadcrumbs. And so after
Perfect.
a AI session where I'm vibe coding, I'll ask the AI to create an MD file for me to reconstruct the code that I've just done. And
Nice.
it'll basically create a path back so I can recreate the code on another machine or modify it in the future, and it saves me time and it's a lot easier.
That's a great use case.
This is a huge tool for both individuals to improve their skill set as well as organizations to kind of pull together different requirements from departments and standards.
Absolutely. Captured it well. It's such a scalable skill to have in your tool set that it works both for whatever you want to do at home in your personal time, all the way up to the largest enterprise is able to use this.
Jason, this has been an extraordinary conversation. You've given us a front row seat on how to take our AI games to the next level with these markdown files. I know many people have now put markdown files on their radar and will give them a try. It's powerful stuff. I
It is.
recommend following Jason on LinkedIn, and I'll put his link to his LinkedIn profile in the first comment section below. You can also find his most recent article on markdown files on his LinkedIn site as well. So please go and check that out for additional details and more specifics on how to get started with markdown files. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to thank those who are already following Marketing News Now, and please like and follow and share these posts. I'll place some source materials in the comments as always. You can continue research there as a starting point with Jason's document and share any ideas or tips that you may have on markdown files and AI as well. Jason, thank you.
Thank you for having me, James.
You bet.